What if I told you that identifying a problem in your life and looking for a solution could be the start of a multi-million-dollar business? Our guest today is a successful lawyer with an entrepreneurial mindset, Pratik Shah, CEO of EsquireTek.
It isn't about the idea. It's about the execution. It's about who's gonna actually get it done, who's gonna put in the daily work. There is no endpoint, right? There is no like, oh, now we've built this company, now it just runs itself. You have to work on it every day. When people buy from you, you want them to walk away feeling like that was a great experience, this solved my problem, I can't wait to call them again. That's what you're looking for. If you have the mindset that everybody's against me and I'm competing against everybody and it's a zero-sum game, and for me to win, somebody else has to lose, you're never gonna learn from anybody because you're not putting yourself out there. But if you have the mindset of there's enough for everybody, there's plenty, there's more business out there than any one of us could handle. Everything's available to you. So don't have a self-limiting belief that you can't do it or you're not capable or whatever. You gotta believe that you yourself can do it and that you're good enough and you're smart enough and people wanna help you and people want you to succeed.
What if I told you that identifying a problem in your life and looking for a solution could be the start of a multi-million-dollar business? Our guest today is a successful lawyer with an entrepreneurial mindset that took the most annoying and time-consuming part of a lawyer's job, looked for a solution, and created one of the most innovative and widely used legal technology platforms in the legal industry. Today, on Art of Purpose, Pratik Shah, CEO of EsquireTek, will share with us how he discovered that his life had more than one purpose and more than one path. We will learn about Pratik's journey to become an attorney, law firm owner, and how looking to fix a widely shared problem led him to create and co-found his company. And along the way, Pratik will share with us tips, insight, and encouragement for anyone looking to one day found and lead their own company, regardless of industry. Pratik, welcome to the Art of Purpose, and thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, thank you so much. That's a very, very nice intro. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So I need that every time I walk into a room.
So we'll have it recorded and just as you walk in.
Like a walk-in song.
I'm very, I guess maybe the word would just be, I admire very much everything that you've done, if that's something I can say.
That's very kind.
I think it's so cool. We're attorneys, and you go to, in our case, I want to be an attorney, go to law school and do that. And I think that's a path of many people, regardless of industry. They go to school or they go to trade school. Or they just learn how to do a job, and that's what they want to do. And in the back of everyone's mind somehow is this idea of like, oh, I'd like to have a company one day or a business one day and like be able to hit it big or, be able to help people. Yeah. You became an attorney, created your own law firm, was successful. You were doing all that. And then you went a step beyond, right? And fixed a problem in the legal industry, and now running a successful company, and you're an attorney as well. So, I thank you so much for being with us today. I know that our audience is going to just love the insights and the stories that you have. So, thank you.
Well, no, thank you, man. And just before we even deep dive in everything, since the show is called Art of Purpose, true purpose for me, real purpose is I'm a father too. That comes first, That's the real purpose is fatherhood, and everything else is kind of important, and it fulfills a different part of you. But there's nothing like that.
I love that you say that too, because, I think this is really cool. So I'm going to say it,
Yeah.
that you're actually on your way right now to take your son to a baseball tournament in Vegas.
Yeah.
And you're just stopping on the way to do this podcast. I just think that's awesome because to highlight what you just said, and that it's not a platitude. You're not just saying that, it's real in your life. Right. And
look, there's a short window of time where the kids get to spend time with you and you get to spend time with them. Mm-hmm. I think about how often I see my parents, maybe 6-7 times a year, right? Yeah. And that's going to happen with them one day, right? That's just how it is. They're going to have their own lives. They're going to have their own kids, their own families, their own whatever they choose to do in their life. They're going to be busy. So we get this little short window of time, and you try to take advantage of it while balancing everything. Yeah. It's hard, but you try to make it work.
Yeah. By the way, I did see on your Instagram, he's pretty good, right?
He's getting there.
That's good,
the
man.
work is starting to pay off. The thing I always tell him, it's true. You know this. You're a business owner. You're a lawyer, and anybody that's been successful in life knows that this is true. And I tell them all the time, I'm like, you have a good game, keep working. You have a bad game, keep working. Mm-hmm. Nothing changes. Just stick to the discipline, stick to the process. Yeah. Don't worry about the results. They will come. And it's hard sometimes. He's 13, so it's hard. Yeah. But, you just got to stick to the process.
No, it's cool that he's doing that too, man. I joke around that I still want to be a baseball player when I grow up.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
me too. Don't we all?
Yeah.
Watching Freddie Freeman in the World Series right now.
Gosh, man, that was awesome. So much fun. All right, so I just want to ask a little bit about your background. So growing up, did you always want to be an attorney?
You know, it was, I didn't grow up with any attorneys in the family or, you know, cousins or nothing like that. I didn't know any attorneys. I never met an attorney till I went into law school, right? I mean, my parents are immigrants, born and raised I was born in Koreatown back in early 80s. And then we moved out of there in the early 90s, right before the riots. So, you know, it wasn't not the nicest part of town, right? But it was fine. You know, my parents worked hard. They put a roof over our heads. They hustled. Yeah. You know, we learn our work ethic from our parents, right?
Yeah.
They hustle,
Absolutely.
man. And we ended up moving out to a little south part of LA called Norwalk.
Yeah.
So a little bit better than Koreatown, but not that much better, but still better. And my mom worked in a hospital, but at the same time, she, like, as a side hustle, would sell jewelry and stuff, right? And so she would have like people that she would need to go like collect from because they bought it on payments, whatever. And they were all in LA. So the minute I could drive, my dad was like, now you take her.
You have to go.
Yeah. And so, you know, we didn't have cell phones back then. So I would take her, I'd drop her off. She'd go like try to go collect her money. And I'd just be sitting in the car, listening to the radio, doing my homework, waiting for her to come back.
That's
And
awesome.
it's like, but you learn to hustle. You just learn, you know, somebody would think, well, man, you went to school all day. You had baseball practice. You did it. And now you got to drive down to LA. It's like, you just got to do it. You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
And you can't sit there and woe is me.
Yeah.
You just got to get up and do it, you know? And I think that's probably the biggest thing I learned growing up with my parents and the way we grew up is just get it done. No complaints. You
100%. Know? And as you say that, I think about sort of my life as well. And it's one of these things where you're a part of something as well, right? It's like your family. So, you know, she's selling, you're driving her and you have to wait there. But you're also sort of setting aside maybe something that you would want to do or you'd want to, you know, and you learn sort of to prioritize as family even, right? And things that everybody else in your life is important for them.
Absolutely. And you, not only do you get to be a part of it and you get to be part of the conversations, right? I think sometimes kids feel like the parents are running their household and they're not really involving the kids in anything. So now you're involved, you feel like you're part of it, you're all part together, right? Yeah. And then you also learn when we talk about, hey, nobody really teaches you how to run a business or grow a business. Well, now you see what it's really like. It's just, you got to just do it. That is really the answer is you find a way to get it done because there's no one else that's going to get it done. You got to do it, you know?
And so Nike is, once again, always had just the right slogan, man.
I mean, it's, you know, it is what it is. It's just the reality is somebody's got to do it and there's nobody else there. So it's you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so when did this idea of like becoming a lawyer, you know, you growing up in Norwalk and you don't have a lawyer in your family, you don't really know anybody. The same thing with me. At some point I was like, hey, I want to be a lawyer, right? But how did that sort of get placed in your heart?
Man, you know, I wish I could point to something and say like this event happened and that inspired me. I don't have a cool story like that. It was something I was always interested in. You know, I was that kid that watched all those lawyer shows growing up, right? And it was always interesting to me. And then I worked post undergrad. I worked in sales. I had quite a few sales jobs. And then the recession hit, and I really had to kind of come to terms with, you know, what do I want to do in my life? And it had always been in the back of my mind of like, oh, you know, you could be a lawyer. But I never thought I could like be a lawyer. Like now I hang around lawyers all the time. It doesn't seem like a big deal. Right. But at that time, it was like,
something way out
that's way out there. Like that's kids like me and where we grow up, like we don't become lawyers. Like if I told my friends that I grew up with, like, yo, I'm gonna be a lawyer one day, they'd laugh at me. They'd be like, all right, lawyer boy, you ain't gonna, what are you talking about, right? So like, it was just like, okay, if I want to do it, I got to do it. And that was going back to this whole concept of just like, all right, no one's going to come and save me. If it's something I want to do, I got to do it myself. And so I just looked online, how to go to law school, literally Googled how to go to law school. And, just started reading online how to do it, and then called my undergrad and was like, oh, I need transcripts for this. And because I had to go, you know, apply for the LSAT and do all these things. And, you know, didn't grow up with a lot of money, so I needed to save up money so I could take the LSAT prep courses. You know, those things aren't cheap. They're like $3,000. And so where are we going to get that from, right?
Yeah.
And so doing all that kind of stuff, and you just figure it out. And I think it also, having to figure it out yourself gives you that confidence that I could do it.
Yeah.
This isn't that hard.
100%.
Like everybody makes things seem very hard and scary, and it really isn't. When you really just start knocking things off the task list, you realize, oh, this isn't that hard. It just took a little bit of time,
100%.
and it probably took me longer than it took somebody else that had guidance, but you can still do it.
Yeah. No, I love that. And that just mentality, right?
Yeah. And I don't think I always had that mentality. I think it got developed because I realized that if I wanted things in life, nobody was going to give them to me. And you just got to go figure it out.
No, I love that. Oftentimes, young people, everybody's going through different situations. It can be very difficult. And at the same time, I think it's so great for people to hear that there have been other individuals that have also had difficult times, and to hear those stories, because then they go, whether it's relative or whatever, they can go, you know what, I can do it. If he did or she did it, that's something that I can do too. And things seemed impossible, and yet somehow they did it. It seems impossible in my life. Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What choice do you have? You want to just lay down and die?
Yeah.
Just start chipping away.
Yeah.
And even if it takes you longer, if it takes you 15 years or 20 years, and where it took somebody else 5, so what? You still got it done.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in today. I want to share with you that this episode is brought to you by the law office of Kenny S. Ramirez. Now, life can change in an instant. Whether it's a car accident that wasn't your fault, a slip and fall in a grocery store, or even the tragic loss of a loved one. And the aftermath can feel overwhelming. You might be dealing with trying to get medical treatment, medical bills, missing work, calls from the insurance company, or just the stress of not knowing what to do next. That's where we come in. At the Law Office of Kenny S. Ramirez, you have a team, a family of accident attorneys who are here to give you back your time and peace of mind. We're here to help you get the maximum compensation you deserve so you can focus on healing and getting back to what matters most to you: your life, your family, your future. If you or someone you know needs some guidance and support after an accident, click the link in the description below for a free case evaluation. You'll speak with our team and we'll help you get your life back on track. And we're committed to being by your side every single step of the way. No matter life's challenges, you don't have to face it alone. We're here for you. Now let's get back into the episode.
You mentioned 2 things there that I just wanted to follow up on. One, I think you said you graduated, you went to work for a little bit after high school, right? And
after undergrad.
Undergrad, sorry. Before going to law school. And then also you were doing sales.
Yeah.
Because when we get into the later part of your career, how that has become an important part. Can you reflect a little bit on that sales? What was that sales job? And is there anything you got there that you think helped you? And I can tell you, preface this by, I remember, and I think I heard that you would, burn CDs, maybe you're gonna sell them when you were a kid, lawn mowing business. And I sold candies in middle school. I was always trying to do something, right? So that sales experience, how did that help?
I was that kid. I was the kid that, would knock on my neighbor's doors and be like, can I wash your car for $5? Funny story, this morning I'm having breakfast with my youngest son. He's 8 years old. And I'm like, hey, I'll see you guys. I'll meet you guys at the tournament, this and that. And he's like, oh, what did you like doing when you were a kid? And I was like, well, this is what I like doing. I like knocking on doors and saying, cool. Can I wash your car for $5? And he's like, well, what'd you do with the money? I was like, I don't even know if it was about the money. It wasn't even about, I was just like, I could figure out a way to make money and I wanted to do it. Not that I had something in mind that I wanted to do with the $5. I just wanted to prove to myself that I could do it. And he goes, why $5? Why not $10? And I was like, okay, well, that's an inflation conversation that we don't need to get into. He's like, I think they'll give me 10 because I'm a kid. I'm like, yeah, there you go. I like that.
Use it, brother.
I use it. Go for it. The next thing he goes, Mom, can I wash your car for $10? Like, no, don't come after me.
Best. It's like when they give kids, I always love these, right? When they would give you candy to sell for your school or for your team, the first people you go to are your parents.
Mom, exactly.
That's not the point.
That's not the point. And so, I that was just always how I was just wired, And then when I was in undergrad, one of my buddies was working a job selling cell phones in the mall, and I needed a job. I just needed to pay rent and stuff like that. And so I was like, dude, I'll take any job you can get me, whatever it is. I'll empty the trash cans. I don't care. And he's like, well, yeah, we always need salespeople. Come on in. So that's kind of where I really learned selling. And then once you're in that sales space, if you're doing well, people are always approaching you for a job or a different company because everybody needs good salespeople. And so while I'm selling cell phones at the mall, and I'd sell a cell phone to somebody. The lady would be like, my husband owns a car dealership. Would you be interested in coming to sell cars? Or, hey, my cousin works at this company. He needs more salespeople. It's just kind of natural, right?
Yeah.
And then I've worked at like Enterprise Rent-A-Car. I sold DHL, shipping for DHL. You name it,
Yeah,
I
you
sold. I
sold
sold
it.
mortgage leads before the mortgage crisis,
Wow.
right? Cold
Yeah.
calling people,
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff.
Wow.
And I think what I learned from sales that is probably the thing I use the most is not being fazed by rejection. That
Talk
I think
about that,
that
please,
I think
yeah.
was everything. Was just like we'd make 200 calls a day, and everybody's hanging up on you. They're yelling at you.
That's what I do.
Whatever, right? And that's fine. You're like, whatever. It doesn't matter because if I get X number of yeses over a month, I'm a winner, and that's all I'm going for. The no's don't bother me, and I think that it's as human beings we never want to be rejected because we take it personally, and it's not personal. It's just not a good fit for them. So when I started my law firm and I'd go meet with people, I'd meet with lawyers, try to get referrals, and they'd say, sorry, not you, I'm sending my business to this person. All right, no problem. Next person. Clients choose other lawyers over you. It's okay, it's the way it goes. Next. Just keep on to the next one. You can't let it faze you. You can't let it affect your next conversation, because a lot of times if you've been rejected a bunch of times in a row, then the next one you start to get nervous, your hands start shaking. Can't have that. You got to maintain your confidence, your composure. And I think that that's probably what sales taught me more than anything is just the no's don't matter. And they just don't matter. There's a finite number of no's that you're going to run into. So just keep going, get more no's. If you got 5 no's today, your goal should be to get 10. Because eventually you're going to get a yes. If you have this mindset of, I'm going to go get 20 no's in a row, you won't hit it. You won't hit 20 because you'll get a yes, and then you'll start the streak over. It's like, just keep going.
Yeah.
So that I think is probably the biggest mindset shift that to me was the most helpful in my life.
Impervious to a no.
It doesn't
Doesn't
matter. Yeah.
That's so cool because you're right. I think it scares people, right, to hear a no, and it's this powerful word that, as you're describing this, I can see clearly, right? This is many years ago that you did that, but you can see it now. It's like no doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
You just keep going.
Just keep.
Right?
Yeah.
What in terms of like selling something, is that something a skill that you learned somewhere, or is that were you already good at it, or you were just like, hey, I'm going to try it, and you develop proficiency at it?
No, I definitely developed it. It is not something that was natural to me.
I think this is really good for like listeners because
100%.
I think it's a special and a very important skill wherever you're at.
Yeah.
But even if you're not good at it, you can develop those skills.
Oh, and I think I want to be very clear on the sales part, because I think a lot of people think of salesperson and they think of like the used car sales guy. They think of like the sleazy hard sell. We're trying to force something on you that you don't want to. I think the greatest salespeople in the world are the ones you don't know are selling.
Cool.
Right? Yeah. That's the reality, because what the greatest sales, when I say we, I'm trying to include myself in that. But like, I think what the greatest salespeople are able to do is find the right product for the right person. And they fill a need, right? They look at your situation and they say, and you've come to them and say, I'm looking for a solution to the X, right? If you're trying to buy a car, for example, it's like, okay, well, what is it that you're looking to do? Is it traveling with the family? Is it a sports car racing? Or what is it? What is your goal with the car? And then what are you looking for? Let me help you find a good fit. Not let me try to force this thing that you don't want on you. That's not true, real sales, right?
Gotcha.
So I think that's number one, is having that confidence to say, hey, I can't help everybody, but the people I can actually sell my product to, I want to make sure it's a good fit. Because I think that's a long-term. So, and kind of looping this back into EsquireTek, our program is not a fit for every law firm. And we don't try to tell every law firm that you need this and this is for you. We look for specific law firms that we feel have this problem, law firms that are doing litigation, that have a certain volume of litigation, that are doing certain areas of practice that we service in the states that we service. And we say, do you have this problem? If you have this problem, we can help you. And this is the benefit of what we sell. And let's do a free trial. Let's get you trained.
We'll do all that.
Yeah, all those things, right? But the important thing isn't forcing someone to buy something. It's finding the thing that solves their problem. There's a oh man.
Yeah.
Do you remember that movie Baby Boy with Tyrese?
I do. I know what you're talking about. I don't know that I've ever seen it, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So there's a scene in that movie that is like a random scene that has always stuck with me. I watched it once, like 25 years ago, and it always stuck with me. He's like selling dresses out of the back of a truck or something, and his aunt or somebody says, there's a difference between a hustler and a salesperson. When somebody buys from a hustler, they walk away feeling like they got ripped off. When somebody buys from a salesperson, they can't wait to buy from that person again.
Oh, that's cool.
And I was like, that's the difference.
I love that.
And that scene has always stuck in my mind because when people buy from you, you want them to walk away feeling like that was a great experience. This solved my problem.
Yes.
I can't wait to call them again.
Yeah.
That's what you're looking for.
I love that. And wow, you're reshaping just the paradigms here for people. I think because, you're right. I think people think of a salesperson as sleazy, the car salesman, and all this. Nothing against car salesmen, right?
Yeah.
But people think about, somebody who's trying to hustle you, right?
Yeah.
What you're saying is that the best salespeople are the ones that find a problem or something that's going on in your life and find a solution to it or provide something that you need there in the moment. And everybody walks out happy.
Yeah. We all have stuff that we're trying to do in our lives, whether it's, whatever. And if somebody can help guide you down the path that helps you solve that's a blessing. And that's how we should be looking at this.
I also, see that, and tell me if I'm wrong here, but I also see that like listening and asking the right questions are so important for salespeople.
Big time.
That also then correlate to your career as an attorney and then as a business person as well, right? But listening, again, we think of salespeople as just always talking and try to sell you something. But what you're talking about here is asking the right questions and listening.
Yeah, and listening. And then there are times where we ask these questions and the law firm tells us, hey, this is my practice. We just tell them, like, I don't think this is going to be a good fit for you. Like, there's this other company that might be a better fit for you for what you're trying to solve. We don't do what you're asking. Yeah. So, we're not trying to fit a square peg into a round hole.
Yeah.
It's got to be a fit,
Is there any... I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but are there any like books or maybe or something that you would recommend to young people? Or is there a certain job that you would say, hey, like even as a college student, that they can, hey, like go try this out because that could just help you?
There's so many. Yeah. And I think of leadership, sales and marketing as my craft. And I always want to be good at my craft. When I was a lawyer, like we talked about, we go to conferences, learn how to be better lawyers, read books on that, watch videos on that, right? We want to be the best lawyer we can be. And in running a business, I want to be the best business owner I can be. So even to this day, this morning I was reading Harvard Business Review on articles about company culture and how to improve company culture. So like I read the magazines I read, the podcasts I listen to, the books I read, everything is about self-improvement. And no matter who you are, you can always get better. And I think finding another big thing for me was turning things into bite-sized goals. So I would be like, okay, I want to read this book. And I'd buy the book and it'd sit on my counter.
Right. That happens all
right? And I would never touch it. And then, because in my mind, I would have this thing of like, okay, when I have time, I'll sit down. Right now, I don't have time. I only have 30 minutes. That's not enough to get through the book. Or I only have an hour. That's not enough. When I have time and this amorphous time that we're hoping for, it never happens. And so then I started telling myself, okay, I'm just going to read one chapter a day. I'm not reading more than that. I'm not reading less than that. I'm going to sit down, grab my coffee. I'm going to read one chapter, and I'm putting it down. That's it. And when I turned into that, that's like 20 minutes a day. We all have 20 minutes,
Yeah.
And that's how I was able to start getting through all this materials and stuff. Because people would ask me, they're like, you're doing this, you're doing that. How do you have time to read? I'm like, oh, I don't read more than 15 minutes a day. And that, for a lot, they're like, wait, what?
That's just 15 more minutes than anybody else does, right?
That's the crazy part.
Yeah,
and it adds up.
Yeah.
If you do 15 minutes a day and you get through 10 pages, 15 pages, whatever it may be, next thing you know, over a month, you've just done 400 pages. And you're like, oh, wow, how'd that happen? You didn't even realize that 15 minutes turned into that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, that was a big thing for me. But as far as books on sales, I mean, there's a ton. I think the number one book on sales is Influence by Robert Cialdini. He's a PhD, and he did all these studies on how people make decisions. I think for trial lawyers, that's a fantastic book as well.
Yeah.
When we talk about jury trials, we're talking about selling. We're selling to a jury.
100%.
We're selling them our case versus the other person selling them their case, right? So Influence, and Influence is another one of those books that I bought, and it sat because I'm like, the guy that wrote it is a PhD. This thing's gonna be like hard to read and like boring, dense, and dense. Yeah. And it wasn't. It was a really easy read. He wrote it He wrote it in a great way that made it very easy and fun to follow and easy, great read. Getting to Yes by the same guy, Chodani, is great. Never Split the Difference. I'm sure you've heard of that
Yes.
one with Chris Voss. That's a great one.
I'm watching his stuff on Masterclass right now.
Yeah, I like Chris Voss a lot. Some of the stuff, and that's another thing with these books and stuff, is not everything's going to apply to whatever you're doing, but you'll get one or two things out of it.
Absolutely.
And that's good enough. Oh, another thing with the books too is if I'm halfway through a book and I don't like it, I just stop reading. I don't feel obligated to finish it. If I feel like I'm not getting value, I'll just put it away, because there's no reason to force yourself to finish it. If it's not providing you value, you're just going to waste more time. It's like, okay, well, I'll just move on to the next book. We talked about Traction. I think Traction was awesome in helping run the business and structure the business. Hard Thing About Hard Things. Have you heard of that book?
No, I haven't. Not that one.
So do you know Andreessen Horowitz? It's a venture capital group. So before they had their venture capital firm, Ben Horowitz, and they ran a business together. So Ben Horowitz wrote this book called The Hard Thing About Hard Things, and it's his journey about building his startup and all the struggles and stuff he went through.
That sounds like fun, yeah.
It's an awesome read. It's such a fun read.
I love this.
And then, oh God, the list goes on. Anything by, I can't think of the books. I can't think of the guy's name right now, but
This is amazing, by the way. So everybody, all our listeners, like, write this stuff
fanatical,
down. Amazon.
Fanatical Prospecting.
Okay.
That's another one. And big takeaway there is just keep reaching out, keep reaching out, keep prospecting. Never stop, no matter how busy you are, because you have to keep doing these things. And if you don't keep your foot on the gas, people forget who you are. So, there's a whole list of, I could tell you.
This is awesome. No, I think, for anybody who's interested, I think, again, like I said, write this down, Amazon, and it's $15 for many of those books, 10, 15 bucks, and go to the library. Yeah, you can go and get it. So thank you for sharing that. I think that's something, there's so many books. And, if you look up leadership or marketing or sales, there's just so many, but it's great to hear from, someone who has had this journey and is already well on his way, that says, hey, check these ones out.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. And that's the thing is, there's a lot of people I follow on Instagram. Like I was a big Gary Vee guy for a long time. There's a lot of those guys, and when I hear them recommend a book, I always look into the reviews and check on YouTube what people say about them, because I agree with you. I want to see the people that have accomplished what I want to accomplish, and then listen to what they say. And everybody's different. There's no one person that you can look at and say, oh, I'm just going to copy what they did, and then what worked for them is going to work for me. It's just not reality. But if you follow 10 people, you'll see consistent themes and realize, okay, if all 10 people that I'm listening to, or all 10 books that I read, are saying the same thing, there's something I got to be doing that I'm not doing. You
were telling us before we started recording about how the book Traction was like that for you, right?
Yeah.
That you were like, you heard somebody tell you, didn't read it. Then by the time 4 or 5 people told you, you're like, well, I guess I got to read this one, man.
Yeah, that's exactly right. 5 people in my life that I knew were successful, that had built the businesses that I would like to build, that had accomplished the things I would like to accomplish, all recommend the same book. It's like, I'm just a fool if I don't read it. You're just a fool. Yeah.
All right. So you know what? I'd like want to keep staying on that, but just to keep that moving here, I want to talk about you starting first. Just so everybody knows, you graduated from law school, you went to the DA's office in Sacramento, did that for about a year, then said, you know what? Hey, I'm gonna leave there. You began your own practice. Long story short, right? And you're successful. You're growing this, and at some point you identify a problem within the legal industry. Can you tell us how EsquireTek started? And perhaps our listeners are younger, may not know all the intricacies. So give us a brief overview, sort of how this problem, fixing this problem, started, and what does EsquireTek do?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. That's a great question. So, I think the theme of this is really just like a lot of it is just, we're just going to figure stuff out. Right? We're just going to learn the hard way. When I left the DA's office and I started my law firm, I knew nothing about running a business, running a law firm. I didn't know what I was doing. And to the point where even my dad was like, "What are you doing? Why would anybody hire you?" Like he's like, "Why would anybody hire you? Why don't you just go get a job like everybody else? Why are you doing all this weird stuff, right?"
Yeah.
And I'm like,
they're
"I
always
don't-
talking sense, right?
yeah, like
Parents.
this doesn't make any sense, right?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you know, I had supportive spouse and all that stuff, right?" And I was like, you know, it's gonna go great. It's gonna go great. And I would work my tail off. I'd work 70, 80 hours. You know how it is. You're starting, right? You've done it yourself. You're just killing yourself to make it. And at the end of the year, my wife's like, "Man, you work so hard. Like, how much money do we make?" I'm like, $25,000. That's all we make.
Yeah.
But I was like, don't worry.
Yeah, yeah.
We're going to get
Stick
there.
with it.
We'll
Yeah.
get there.
Yeah.
And then you grow on it, and then it grows, right? And so you build on it and build on it. So I think the nice thing about having gone through the whole law school thing of having to figure it out, the law firm thing of having to figure it out and all this stuff, that I knew that if I wanted to do something, I had confidence in myself that I'll just figure it out. It's fine. I'll make mistakes. I'm not worried about making mistakes. I'm not worried about it not working. I'm not worried about people saying no to me. I will just figure it out. So as we're growing the firm, all these people recommended Traction. One of the things they talk about in Traction is to have quarterly meetings with your team, talk about what your goals are, and talk with the team about how we can achieve those goals. And so we'd set those. Okay, we'd have these quarterly meetings. I'd meet with my paralegals and my legal assistants and say, "Hey, you know, we missed our goals last quarter. Here's the goals I want to hit for next quarter. What do you guys need? What tools can I give you to help you guys achieve that?" Because it's not just crack the whip and just yell at them. That's not the culture I wanted in my firm. What I wanted is this, like, we're all working together to hit the same goals. And of course, we tie bonuses to the goals, right? I want you guys to hit your bonuses. How can I help you hit those bonuses, right? And the big thing that I kept hearing from everybody was just written discovery is taking forever. And for the listeners that are not lawyers, once a lawsuit's filed, the two sides exchange information, and that's called written discovery. But you have to ask a bunch of questions. The other side has to answer it. They send you a bunch of questions, and the answers have to be in a certain format, organized a certain way, and it's very tedious and time-consuming. And so I talked to my
attest to that.
yeah. And so in talking to my team of this conversation, and it's like, okay, well, tell me what it is that is taking so much time. Show me. Like, I just want to know because I'm not seeing it. So they're showing me. I'm like, this is crazy. They're copying and pasting, and it's taking like 2 hours to do this. It's like, this is crazy. You guys should not be doing this. We definitely should have somebody else doing this.
And so everybody knows, I mean, the thing about the copying and pasting thing is that most of it either before it would be sent through the hard mail, right? US mail, right? So you get it, you'd have to scan it and then try to OCR everything. And then you'd have to copy and paste, and that wouldn't work great. So you just have to be typing down all the questions into the format that has to be done. And it was just annoying and time consuming. It would take forever.
It takes like
just
2-3 hours
to do the template before you've even actually started the work on it.
Before you've even called your client, before you've even gone through the documents and gotten any of the answers.
And nobody ever wants to do that.
It's the worst.
It's like the stuff that you end up handing all the way down eventually, like the high school clerk to like do that stuff because nobody wants to do it.
And that's exactly what we tried, right? We tried every solution to this problem. We were like, okay, let's hire like a high school student to do this. But like, attention to detail isn't quite there. That wasn't really successful for us. So we're like, okay, that's not working. I was like, let's hire overseas people. Let's do that. And then that would just still take forever, and we'd have to supervise them and manage them. That really wasn't working either. We're like, I would just get so frustrated because I'm like, I want to solve this problem for my team, for my business, right? It's for both of us. And I can't seem to find a solution. I'm like, a computer should be able to do this. This is not that hard, right? And searching for online like programs didn't exist. And I was literally sitting in the backyard of a friend of mine, and he was talking about another business. And I was like, I don't know about that business, but here's what I've been dealing with. Here's what I'm trying to find. And one of his buddies was there who actually is a vice president at Qualcomm, engineer guy. And I was like, we're just trying to do this paperwork thing. It's not working. He's like, yeah, we should be able to do that with AI this day. And this is back in 2018, 19 when AI wasn't like the talk of the town. And I was like, AI really? Like, what are you talking about, right?
I seen that movie, but...
I was like, what do you mean? And he goes, oh, yeah. He goes, for sure. The technology's out there for this, for sure. And I was like, well, yeah, let's do it. And at first, I just wanted to develop it for my office.
Solution for your firm.
Yeah, because I would call my friends and I'd be like, what are you guys doing? Is your team really like, and everybody's like, yeah, we're all just copying and pasting. I'm like, this sounds horrible. Why are we doing this? And first I hired an engineering company Me and the guy whose backyard I was in, we were co-founders and partners in the business. We're like, let's do it. Let's put some money behind it. Let's develop this thing. We hired this engineering company, a year in development, and we got complete just doo-doo. Was not a good product, didn't work, too slow, too many bugs, issue after issue after issue. We had both put in pretty good money,
And a year goes by.
And a year goes by, and I was like, oh man, maybe this just isn't gonna work. And he was like, and then my co-founder was like, hey, I've got another guy who has built other companies. Maybe we should talk to him. And then that's how I met my other co-founder. His name's Dr. Slim Sweesey.
Okay.
Guy's a genius.
Okay. Cool.
And I'm like a Neanderthal. I'm like, I want this paper to be this paper, and he's like, oh yeah, no problem.
It's actually really good. Let me ask this question then. So, this is a legal tech platform, right? And so I immediately think, hey, everybody who's working on it is like these tech geniuses and stuff. And you just said that you're not, right?
Not at all.
So, which is cool because then it's once again this concept of like, hey, you have this idea, you have a vision, you find the right team, and you can bring that stuff to pass, right? Can
Absolutely.
you talk a little bit just about that? And like how you even decided, you know what? I actually don't know how to do this stuff, but like I know where we're heading and like I'm gonna go for it.
Yeah. I have not coded one line in EsquireTek. Cool. We jokingly say I'm the Esquire, he's the tech. That's how we do it, right?
Smart, I like it. Yeah.
I will tell you, hey, what's gonna comply with our ethical rules? What do I think lawyers are actually going to use? Because my whole mantra when we were designing this thing is it's got to be simple, simple, simple. Less clicks, the better. If it's like, because there was discussion of, well, we can create this customized solution and each law firm can customize. I'm like, nobody's going to want to do that. They're just going to want to drag and drop and get the thing that they want at the end. Don't make it complicated, and because it's not going to work. The lawyers are not tech people, they just want the job done. And so that was like my big mantra of just like, speed and efficiency, less clicks as possible. And he built it out and executed wonderful vision, and then another year of development. And then I saw what he had built and I was like, this is what I'm talking about. I was like, this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'll handle the business side of it, the structure, the hiring, payroll, taxes, sales, all marketing, all that stuff.
Yeah.
You just keep making sure this works and updated maintenance, all that stuff. And we started finding our rhythm, right? First, it was just me and him, and I was doing everything myself. Then hire salespeople. Then I hire a marketing person. Then I'm like, okay, I need somebody to manage payroll, and that's you know how it is. It's like
from there.
Just like when you started your firm, it's like you just kind of learn as you go. And the important takeaway here is I made a million mistakes. I'll make more mistakes, and I'm fine with that because I know that in making the mistakes is how I find the solution. Yeah. It's okay.
Yeah.
I'm wrong all the time. Ask my wife; she'll tell you I'm wrong all the time. You know, but that's okay.
Yeah.
That's not important.
Nothing is perfect.
No.
Yeah.
And it's not ever gonna be. And perfect. There's that old phrase. I'm sure you've heard it. Perfect is the enemy of good. And if you've done it good, if you've done it well, and it's done, move on. It's okay. When we launched EsquireTek, we launched December 3rd of 2020. What it looked like when we launched and what it looks like today are two different platforms. Because listening to user feedback, listening to our customers, hey, it would be cool if you added this, or I don't like how this is. And the hard part as we grow is when you have 5 customers and a customer says, I want this changed, you're like, cool, no problem. Now you have 500 and a customer says they want something changed, you're like, well, I got to think about how this is going to affect everybody. Yeah. And I would love to implement every change, but I want a great product that everybody wants to use and is easy to use without, the whole point is to make the workflow in a law firm efficient, not make it more complicated. So if we keep making changes, it makes the platform more complicated. Yeah. So we have to kind of think, we'll run surveys, we'll talk to our internal team, we'll talk to our customer. We have a whole customer service team that talks to clients all the time. Hey, can you guys start asking them, do they want this? Do they want that? Yeah. And then things move a little slower the bigger you get, but that's the way it goes.
So cool, man. I think it's inspiring. It's an amazing story, and I want to touch on a few things there. One, maybe going back to the beginning of what you were talking about is, oftentimes I think a lesson to grab from your story here is that oftentimes we bemoan, right, or we're upset or frustrated with circumstances or what we might be doing, right, or where we might be in life and whatever phase we might be in life. I think about, when you started your firm, I'm sure you didn't love discovery.
No,
right?
I mean, I did it all myself.
Yeah.
The number one reason I hired a paralegal is because I didn't want to do discovery
There you
anymore.
go.
That was the number one, because I would be up till, I'd work, I'd be in the office, and then I'd come home, try to have dinner with the family, put the kids to bed, and when they went to bed, then I'd sit there and copy and paste with the TV on till like midnight, right?
Yeah, that
and
was
I'm
the time
like,
to
what am
watch.
I doing? Is this why I went to law school? But
And
you
then
know?
once it's with your paralegal, now your paralegal is trying to see how they can offload it into somebody else.
They're
right?
like, I need a legal assistant.
Yeah.
What do you need an assistant for? For discovery. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. It sucks. I get it.
And yet, that experience, I love what you said about how, you're the Esquire, he's the tech, but that combination is what makes this a success, because without you having gone through that experience, you don't know because somebody can go, hey, I'm going to fix the discovery process in firms. But if they haven't been an attorney, they actually don't know what is the issue? What's the problem? What are those points that we struggle with? That's
Right.
annoying, that's time consuming. You went through it. So you go, yeah, I don't want that, or it needs to be less like this, or it needs to look that way, because you know how it's actually going to affect or hurt or help attorneys.
I think that is true, but I think the takeaway from that is don't be afraid to discuss your ideas with people, right? I think a lot of people, they think, oh, I've got this $1 million idea. I don't want to tell anybody. They'll steal it from me. I want you to sign an NDA,
Yeah.
all this stuff. And it's like, stop all that nonsense. I would talk to anybody that would listen, because here's the reality. This is a sad reality, but 99.9% of people aren't going to do anything about it.
Yeah.
They're just not going to do anything about it. And if they did, then they beat you to it. And that's just the way it goes. And you should have moved faster, right?
Yeah.
But I would talk to anybody, because maybe they've got some insight that I didn't think about. And I'm like, oh, that's a good point. If I sat in that guy's backyard and wanted to keep the idea to myself and didn't want to say anything, he would have never put me in touch with his buddy that does tech, and it would have never came to fruition. So, talk to people. Don't be afraid to talk to people. Don't think, oh my God, this person's going to steal my idea. I'm not going to say nobody ever will, but it isn't about the idea. It's about the execution. It's about who's going to actually get it done, who's going to put in the daily work. Building, there is no endpoint, right? There is no like, oh, now we've built this company, now it just runs itself. No, it's just like your law firm. You have to work on it every day. Yeah, whether it's improving your branding, improving your marketing, buying better equipment, getting stuff done, improving your payroll process, whatever, customer service,
Always.
a million things going on that you're trying to improve every day. So if somebody beats you to it or starts something, doesn't mean you also can't, because it's not about who starts it. It's about who keeps going and who's there in the end. So don't be afraid to talk about your ideas with people, because don't think like they're going to go steal it or anything like that. Maybe they will, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you talked about implementation. It's about who actually begins working on it, right? And so if I can ask here, you begin EsquireTek, you kind of get going. You didn't go to business school. No. Hiring processes, structures, manuals, employees, departments.
Yeah.
Like, how do you then? And I know it's sort of just something that you start doing one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
But at one point, do you go, okay, cool. This is a great business, but like now we have to actually turn it into a business.
Yeah.
And I'll preface that by saying that you and I saw each other last week. We were at the National Trial Lawyers Business of Law Conference in Arizona, and we were talking about it briefly before we started here. But just this idea that, in our case, the legal industry, it's a business, and you have to run it like a business, and you have to pay attention to all those points. So for you, how did you get started down that road? Are there some things that in looking back, you're like, wow, that was big for us, or this was important that I learned?
I love learning. I love improving myself. You're right. I didn't go to business school. I had a little bit of experience in running my law firm, but again, that was just from brute force. And when I started the firm, there was things that took me 6 hours that should have taken me 5 minutes. I remember even when I started the firm, I went to CVS to go buy envelopes, which first of all, like, you shouldn't be doing that, but like, you got to do it. There's no one else to do it.
Too.
Right? Yeah. I go to CVS to buy envelopes. I come back to my little office, which was my condo in my kid's bedroom.
That's awesome.
and I go to put the mail in the envelope, and I realize I bought the wrong size envelope.
Yeah.
And I had to go back to CVS to get the right size envelopes. And I'm like,
There goes a day.
it took me there goes a day, right? It took me 4 hours to do to mail 3 letters that should have taken me 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And you just learn the hard way, right? And it took us in the law firm. I've been very lucky in my life with the business partners I've had. Arthur DeGidio, who's my business partner for almost 6.5 years in the law firm, great to work with. We're still very close friends. Great guy. Dr. Slim, who's my co-founder at EsquireTek, just phenomenal to work with. Everybody has their disagreements and everybody has their different ideas, but very easy to kind of work through these things. So I've definitely been lucky in that sense because I hear horror stories of people that have had business partners. I haven't had that experience, and I hope I never have to. So I want to give shout outs to both of them.
Absolutely.
And hopefully they'll say the same thing about me. I don't know, but we'll see. But yes, so a lot of lessons learned the hard way. And then a lot of I would try to take as many people as I could to lunches and dinners and talk to them. Hey, I have group chats. I would start group chats on WhatsApp. I would just put in a bunch of my friends that run businesses and law firms and say,
You're all like mastermind groups.
Now we're starting this. Yeah. And here's questions I have.
Yeah.
Hey, how are you guys structuring comp plans? Are you guys structuring bonuses? How are you guys doing that? Who do you guys use for accounting? What marketing has worked? And you'll be surprised that people are very, very helpful. They want you to succeed, and they don't see you as competition, and you shouldn't see others as competition. The pie is big enough.
Yeah.
A big thing is that there's a phrase people use for that, abundance mindset, right? And that sounds like very cheesy and you see that on the
real.
Instagram stuff, but it's real. If you have the mindset that everybody's against me and I'm competing against everybody and it's a zero-sum game, and for me to win, somebody else has to lose, you're never going to learn from anybody because you're not putting yourself out there.
It's also a little bit of a lonely existence.
It's very lonely. I mean, I can't even imagine like that, right? But if you have the mindset of there's enough for everybody, there's plenty, there's more business out there than any one of us could handle. There just is.
Yeah.
And sit down, let's have dinner, let's break bread. Here are the things I'm struggling with in my business. What are the things you're struggling with? Oh, here's what's worked for me, and take what you like and leave what you don't, and just have as many conversations with people as possible and be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to show off.
Big deal.
Yeah, everybody wants to show off. They're geniuses. They're brilliant. They know they've got all the right answers. They're so rich and they're so that. And don't do that.
Lift the hood.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah. But don't do that. That doesn't help you. Another kind of quick story. One of my mentors, this guy Frank Perez, is an attorney out of LA.
Yes.
Oh, I love that guy. He's helped me through so much. And I introduced him to a friend of a friend who is an immigration lawyer. And the immigration lawyer had just started his practice. And I was like, hey, man, I really want to introduce you to Frank. Frank has helped me so much. Like, you should connect with him. I'm sure he'll have great advice for you too. And what did the immigration lawyer do? He goes, oh man, I started my practice. We're killing it. I got so much business. I don't know how to handle all these clients. And they're paying me this. And Frank goes, sounds like you don't need my help. Congrats.
And close that door. Yeah.
And now this guy can't receive all the advice and counsel that he could have got from this person because he was so busy trying to show off and act like a big shot.
Yeah.
When if he had been a little bit more honest of just, hey, here's what I'm struggling with, he would have gotten who knows where it could have led to.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. It's interesting because one, being vulnerable and just honest with yourself as well, and then open. Because it's one thing that we've talked about recently a lot. Like you see my sister, she works here.
Yeah.
My dad and my mom as well. And with my dad and sister, we often talk a lot about these things, and pride and ego as well is just a big thing that you constantly kind of have to be chipping away. I think it's a good thing in terms of confidence and being able to like go and take risks and do that, right? But at some point you also have to go, hey, like the sort of bad side, the dark side of that is that you close yourself off to many things, right? So you have to just be humble, and humble doesn't mean weak. Humble just means like, hey, like I can learn from everybody.
Yeah, and I think self-awareness is really the key, right? Knowing what you're good at, what you're not good at, being okay with that, being okay saying I'm not good at these things. I told you this before we started, and you were asking me about EsquireTek. I'm like, the reason EsquireTek's successful is I hire people that are better at their job than I am at their job.
Yeah.
Like they're better than me. They give me advice on how we should be marketing this, and I either approve it because it aligns with my vision, or I say no. But they are better at that job. They are better than me at that stuff. And that's what I want. I want people, and if I come in and act like I have all the answers, then people that are that talented don't want to work for me. Because they're like, this is not, I can't grow. I can't execute the things I want to execute, right? So being self-aware of what you're good at, what you're not good at, being self-aware of where you fit on the totem pole. I think a lot of people, they start making a couple $1,000,000 and they start thinking they're like the greatest thing since sliced bread. And then you go, well, really, let's look at where Bezos is. you have a lot of room to go, and there's a lot of people in between. So don't get an ego, because
it's the biggest and most helpful reality check when you can do that, because you're right. It can feel good, and then you go, yeah, but I haven't done anything.
You haven't done anything. You haven't done anything. Yeah, you haven't done anything. Go drive through the fancier neighborhoods in your area, right? You haven't done anything, and you have to keep reminding yourself you haven't accomplished anything. And again, I'll reiterate on traction. I think that helps a lot with that, because if you set this 10-year vision, one of the things they talk about a lot is set this 10-year vision. And if you set the 10-year vision, just because you've hit some milestones, you haven't got to where you want to get to. And it kind of keeps you in check, because you're like, I still haven't got there. There's still a long way to go. So this is great. I'm happy we hit the milestone, but job not finished.
Still a long way to go. No, absolutely. For a young person who's, who has hopes of one day, being able to create a business and to run it, it seems so far off, right? But what would you recommend? Let's say somebody in high school or even in college. Is there any practical steps that they can do? It's funny, like, we often, Sharon and I, go speak at colleges, and we love encouraging just young people, right?
I coach high school mock trial.
You coach high school mock trial, absolutely. And it's often, it seems so far away, but there are things that they can start doing now to help them, right?
I think, number one, a lot of people have self-limiting beliefs. They believe that they can't. I had it. Like we talked about at the beginning. It's like kids like us, where we grew up, we don't become lawyers. That's for the rich kids, And then you realize you break through that. You're like, wait, no. Everything's available to you, right? So don't have a self-limiting belief that you can't do it or you're not capable or whatever, right? Of course, everybody's got their own circumstance. So I don't want to assume anybody. Obviously, some people are more privileged than others, and there's spectrum and all that. So, but you gotta believe that you yourself can do it, and that you're good enough and you're smart enough, and people want to help you and people want you to succeed. And there's no application to fill out to become a business owner, right? Filing an LLC does not make you a business owner. You become a business owner when you get your first client to pay you something. That's when you become a business owner. Whether you have an LLC or not, none of that matters. Get somebody to pay you to do something. That's how you know. I have people ask me all the time. I'm sure you have friends too that say, "Oh, how did you start your own law firm?" The way you start a law firm is you get someone to sign your fee agreement. Now you've started a law firm. That's it. You don't need anything else. You can work from home. Laptop. Nothing. You don't need a website. Get somebody to sign your fee agreement and get them to represent you. Now you got a law firm.
Right.
Get somebody to buy something from you. Whether you're cleaning their car like we were talking about earlier. You're washing their windows. Get somebody to pay you for something. Now you got a business, and then do it 5 times for 5 different people, 10 times, 20 times. Now you got a business, and you can go figure out the rest. Okay, do I need an LLC? How do I pay taxes? How do I else? But just get somebody to pay you to do something. That's it.
That's awesome, because it simplifies it, and we often think about how big the idea of having a business is. And what we've learned, I think, just beautifully from you today, is that it's just about doing it. Take the step. Do the first thing.
Yeah. Don't worry about the rest.
As it comes, it'll get done.
It'll get done. Yeah. You'll figure out how to get everything done. You will, because you have to, because you have no choice. But just get a client, get a customer, whatever you want to call that person, right? Get somebody to give you money to do something. And now you got a business.
You know what? You touched on it a little bit earlier, and maybe I want to see if you can go a little bit deeper into this. The difference, there's one thing my dad told me a long time ago, is that there's a difference between even like when you started your business, most of the time people write down that they're self-employed, right? Because that's kind of how you start off, right? And you think you have a business, but the reality is that you're still an employee for yourself, but you're still an employee. And turning that into a business is a different mindset and shift and processes and things that you need to do to become a functioning business, as opposed to I'm still working, I'm an employee, right? I love what you've created and what you've built, and there's clearly something unique about you and your personality and how you view things and your vision. When you are building out your company, when you're building out your vision, you know, how do you go from, because not at any point are you thinking, hey, I'm going to do all the work.
Yeah, right.
Right.
You can't scale.
Yeah. How do you begin to even think about that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So, you know, it's almost tailing off of the last answer of get that first client, right? Figure out what skill or service you can sell that someone's going to pay you for. And you get one, you get two, you get three. And then you start thinking, okay, each of these clients paid me, let's say you charged them $500 each. Like, okay, I made $1,500. How many clients could I realistically do in a month? Maybe I can do 10. So now I've capped myself on what I can make at 5,000 in top line revenue, not even counting costs and profit and all that, right? So if I want to do this as a business, what's the most I could do in a month? The most is a gross revenue of $5,000. Well, that's not really sustainable or going to work. So how could I get it to 10 or 20 or 30 or 50 or 100? I can charge more. I can get more clients. If I get more clients, I can't do it. So can I charge more? Because if instead of charging 500, if you can charge 5,000, that'd be great. But your skill or service better be worth it. Otherwise, no customer is going to buy, right? So, okay, there's going to be a cap on what you can charge because the market just determines. So once I've reached the cap of what I think I can charge, and people are willing to pay for my quality of service that I'm providing, okay, now how many of those can I get? And how do I get more people in, right? Okay, so maybe I need somebody to do it. Maybe if I'm the only person that can do it, if I'm a trial lawyer, if I'm like a Brian Panish, hey, I'm the only one that can try cases at this level, well, then I need somebody else to go out and get the business for me so I can do what I can do, because that's where my unique skill is, my genius is, right? Okay, but if it's like, hey, I'm just selling a widget, well, maybe I can hire a company to manufacture the widget. I don't have to make them myself in the garage because that's what I can scale, and I can handle customer service because that's my little zone of genius, right? So figuring out how much can I charge for this thing? What's the maximum I can do right now by myself? What's the number I actually want to do? And then how do I close that gap? And it's just a puzzle. And there's no playbook. There's no secret formula. It's just a playbook. It's just a puzzle, and you just go piece by piece. Okay, well, we solved the sales side. Now I've got, Lisa, she's out there. She's getting new clients for me. She's meeting them. Great. All right, we solved the sales side. Now how do I service all these clients? Okay, I need help servicing. Let me go get John. John can help me service. All right, now that we've done that, I'm having a problem collecting invoices. So now let me go find somebody that can help me go collect invoices, or a vendor or something, and you just go piece by piece.
And that's beautiful. That's fun too.
It's fun. It's fun solving the next problem. I mean, that is our job as business owners. Is one, I see it as, I want the talented people that I've hired to be able to execute the things that they're good at. I need to provide the tools and resources so they can do that, and then get out of their way and let them do it. Let them do what they're good at. And that, I think sometimes business owners get stuck in not wanting to lose control, or everything has to be done their way, or they have to do it themselves. It's not scalable. It's not scalable.
No, absolutely. And it is a bit of a mind shift for many people, because it has to be, right? We were talking again earlier before we started recording about the conference that we went to. And at least for me, sort of the impact it had in terms of clarity as well is, this is a business, and treating it as such, as much as we often say that, and we think we're thinking it, right? Until like you hear other operators talking about how they're running their businesses, you go, okay, I wasn't thinking about it in the correct way.
Definitely, yeah. Oh my God, every day I learn.
Yeah. And so you are also an attorney at Panish Shea Ravaputi, which is one of the biggest and best trial firms in the country.
Thank you. Yes. We like
How
to
did that
think
get
so.
started? Yeah, and how I think a testament to you that you're able to do both these roles, right? Wow, you're
Yeah.
CEO of a legal tech company and an attorney at one of the best firms there is.
They're a wonderful firm. The people that work there are amazing. I've been blessed. I can't, whatever power is looking out for me, I'm very grateful for them because I had a great business partner for 6.5 years. And I got this offer from Panishay Ravaputi to come join them. And it was an offer I just couldn't say no to. And my business partner completely understood when I told him that this offer was on the table. He was like, dude, if I got it, like, I would take it. So
All right.
I was like, that's very nice. Like,
Go for it, yeah.
And so, everything worked out. We've all heard the nightmares of business partners separating. That was not our experience at all. I've been very, very blessed in that sense. I met a couple of the attorneys there at a conference. I met Rahul at a conference, and we got to know each other. I was telling him about EsquireTek. He knew I was running EsquireTek, and we were just hanging out with a bunch of attorneys. And then we started talking, and he's like, "Hey, look, we've got this open position. Would you ever I wasn't looking for a job.
Yeah.
He's like, "Would you ever consider coming to work for us?" And I'm like, this is a firm, as you know, not a firm that would have hired me out of law school. Like, they're a very reputable firm, and they do really great stuff. I mean, they've represented the Mandalay Bay victims, and the list goes on of everything they've done. And I was like, I thought he was joking at first. I was like, is this some kind of prank? Like, is somebody put you up to this? And
look for the
yeah, I
cameras.
was like, are you talking to me or who are you talking to? And I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm interested, but I've got a firm I'm already a business partners in. I've got a tech company I run. I can't abandon those things, and we got to figure it out. So there was a 6-month discussion between me and Rahul and the other partners at the firm of what their expectations are, make sure I could meet their expectations, because if I was going to join them, I didn't want to not deliver on what their expectations are, but also letting them know that, hey, I'm still running this company and I have investors that I'm beholden to. I can't just walk away. Like, that's an integrity issue, right? And they were like, cool. To their credit, they were like, as long as you think you can do the job, we have no problem with any of it. And great, all right. So I've been there like a little over 3 years. They haven't fired me yet, so far so good. We'll see. You never know what happens, but knock on wood. But no, I've been very blessed to work there. Watching them work, the legal work they do is just high quality. Getting to just see how they operate has been really a blessing. Like I said, I can't be. I'm extremely grateful for all the opportunities that I've really been. You definitely have to put in the work every day. You definitely have to be open. You definitely have to be self-aware. You have to do all those things. There's a little bit of luck. And, the reality of what everybody says is true, which is the more you put yourself out there, the more you're honest with people and vulnerable and open with people, the luckier you end up getting. Because people want to do business with people they like and trust. And if you are the person that's, hey, I'm the big shot, I'm this, they don't want to do business with you.
Right.
So, I think it all really comes back to just being as open and honest as possible.
Yeah. Pratik, thank you so much.
Thank you
for your time today. I feel like we always want to provide value to our listeners and just expose them to just amazing people that we know and that we meet. I'll be honest, I came out of this one feeling that I got so much.
That's very kind. I don't know about that, but
so I
thank you.
hope everybody also experienced that and you're feeling that. Go get the books that he recommended.
Yeah.
And
I don't get a commission or nothing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And so again, Pratik, thank you so much for being here. I'm being mindful also of your time. I could sit down here and talk to you much longer.
Yeah, likewise.
I love that. Again, you're going to Vegas with your kid and with your son. That's super fun. So thank you once again. And
you.
for our listeners, everybody, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Art of Purpose. We look forward to the next one. We have some great guests lined up as well. We will see you then.
Thank you.